Hi everybody, Kathy here, and I'm back again with another layout, and this time it's for Stamp It Like It's Hot with My Life on Paper, and it's the first Saturday of the month. My goodness, it's flying by. It is the second, however, and this is a layout where we have had to stamp our background. So I have selected my photo of my son, and I've gotten together a few bits of papers that I'm going to use to complement the background stamping, and these I will be layering up as we move through the layout. So my first process, of course, is to stamp my background, and of course I haven't chosen a white background to start with. I've chosen this one here. It is a Kaiser Craft paper. I like that it's got that distressing on the background because that fits nicely with the stamp that I'm going to create for my or put across the background for this layout. And I'm using a grunge sort of stamp. As you can see, I'm using a stamp platform. I'm having a bit of difficulty at this end, so I've just turned the direction, which is fine because, as I said, it is meant to be a grungy background because it is my son with his firefighting. And I am just placing this stamp around the layout. A lot of it will get covered up, but I am just making sure that I have enough in there to show through in the background of the photo. So I'm just manipulating the stamp around the page now. I use my Tim Holtz stamp platform. I do like it. It allows me, because I'm not a very good stamper, I admit it, to at least try and get some consistency in the depth and colour of my stamp. But as I can see here, my archival stamp might need a re-ink. It's a bit dry, so I think I might put some re-inking on it before I use it next time around. So I'm just adding in the last one here, this square here. So it is sort of a haphazard. My magnets for this platform broke pretty much the day I got it, so I've been dealing with that the whole time. I don't know, there was a weakness obviously in the magnets and they've split, but that's okay, they still hold the paper for me. I'm adding in just a little bit more because I do have those blank spaces there that I want to add, so I've got another stamp from this set and I'm just going to put that in across a couple of spots here just to add a few points of interest. They look like streaks of paint, just adding into the grungy feel of the background that I've created with this stamp. So just finishing off, as you can see. Now, as I said, it is going to be for my son. It was one of his raft weekends where he was out in the Megalong Valley, and they had to walk with their packs from one end to the other, camp out overnight as part of their raft training. So the grungy feel suits the layout and pulls it all together. I am cutting a 1-inch frame out of the burgundy cardstock here, as you can see, and then I'm using the rest of the burgundy throughout the layout. I'm taking off a 1/4 inch on either side of this layout so that it will just give a glimmer of the burgundy underneath, but it provides that framing and finishing off of the layout. So I'm releasing one side at a time so I don't get that ripple happening when I lay it down on my frame, which often happens if you try to do it all at once. Well, it does to me, so I do it nice and slowly, one at a time. That way it makes it nice and smooth and a place to work without any ripples. Now I've got these 6x6 papers here, and I've collected 2 sets of 5, and I'm going to trim them down to create a nesting square effect, and from there I'm going to cut those in half and use the triangles on the layout to give opposite corners to the layout with these as a feature. I started off with the 6x6, and then I'm trimming them down at varying degrees by 3/4 of an inch or an inch depending on the paper, and placing them on top of each other like nesting squares, and that's going to give a layered effect to this otherwise flat layout. The colours are reflective of the photo, and they pick up the firefighter yellow, and they pick up the blues and the greens of the gum trees and the mountains. And of course I've got a bit of wood grain in there because you all know I love a bit of wood grain. So that ties in nicely with the theme of the photo and the colours of the photo, and that's still allowing my son's photo just pop on this layout. So I'm just putting in the nesting squares so that they're on top of each other, and I'm making sure that they are very centered because I am going to use the diagonal and I am going to use it on this layout. So I have shown you how this one works, and I've also created the second one off screen. So when I cut this one in half, I'm going to do it on the diagonal as I said, and then I'm going to place them strategically to the two sides, as you can see, one here and one down here, and I'll adhere those on with the tape, taking off the excess when I have finally worked out exactly where I want them to sit. So the stamping is still showing through, as you can see, and the triangles forming like an arrow type of effect, and that will work nicely with the photo as well because it will draw your eye to the photo. I'm just trimming off the excess here. That's one of the downs of using the 6x6. You do end up with the excess, but that's okay. We'll just put that to the side. And off screen, as I said, I had created the second set, and that's where I've tucked them in on this layout. Now I have mounted the photo on a bit of that burgundy that I had gutted from behind the layout, and then using this gingham here, I'm going to, or plaid, as either way, I'm going to just double mount on the background to lift it up off that stamping and to put the colours into place. And I'm going to tuck them in underneath those triangular points, and that will allow for them to be a focus to the photo. So you just lift it up, and I have to replace it, and I often do that with a layout, stick it down and then I have to lift it up and replace it, but that's okay. That's why I only lightly seal it until the end. I thought about putting in an extra bit there to layer it up a bit more, but then I decided not to because I still want the stamping to be a feature as my background. Alright, now that I have got the photo in place, I've got my corner edges added in and the stamping, it's time to embellish. And I have this little quote here that says, "You're never too old to play in the leaves." Well, that's so true. He may not play in the leaves like he did as a child, but he does play in the leaves when they're on fire. So it's a bit sad, but that's life in Australia in the summer, and that's what he does. He's a volunteer firefighter, and he works for RART, which is Remote Area Fire Team, and also Remote Air Rescue Team. So he does quite a lot for the RFS, and it is his passion and it's what he likes, and so that's why I've captured this one. I always make him get me a photo when he's out on a deployment or he's out doing something if he can, and he tries to remember. This time, as I said, it was his training, and that mountain you can just see in the far distance, that's where they had to walk across that valley to that mountain. So it's quite a bigger feat, but they have to be very fit and they have to be able to do it because that's what is required of them during fire season. So I'm layering up some leaves here. I've put in some cogs just to throw in that masculine feel. I do have the kangaroo with the gum tree that goes across that little quote there, and that reflects the gum tree that you can see in the photo behind him and in the distance. So that was a nice little touch, and it picks up the black from the stamping as well. And as I said, you're never too old to play in the leaves, and that's why the leaves are there. And the leaves fall when the fires come, so it's all tying in together. To finish it off, I'm going to use some Nuvo drops, and I'm just adding those to the centre of the cogs there, but I'm also going to now set up the visual triangle with 3 Nuvo drops in 3 strategic places around the layout so that your eye just roams from one point to the other without you consciously being aware of it, but it is a natural balance for that photo. And yes, there's lots going on in the background, but the photo still pops front and centre based on the fact that the colours are reflective in all of the choices that have happened on the layout. And I find that that's very important when you are creating a layout, to make sure that the colours balance the photo, not overwhelm the photo. So you can see my stamping there in the background. You can see that the embellishments do cover a bit of it, but do not cover it all, but they make it stand out. Actually, they make it pop a little bit more. And I think that that's very important as well, when the stamping was meant to be a feature for this layout. So that's my layout. It's come together quite easily, as you have seen. I hope that I have done something to inspire you. There are a lot of girls playing along with this hop. It's on every first Saturday of the month. Now, as I was looking at it, I just couldn't help myself. I have to finish it off with some faux stitching around the border. I just thought it was sitting there just a little bit too flat, so I'm just finishing it off by adding this edging stitching, and then that pretty much does my layout. And then I think, no, wait a second, there's still more that I can add. And so I'm putting in some more Nuvo drops just around that quote. It's sitting there a little bit flat to my liking, so I'm just making some strategic place Nuvo drops just to pop it a little bit more. Thanks everybody for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you liked something. Thank you to all my subscribers for returning. I do appreciate it. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button for my next video. Here's my recommendation for the next one, and happy scrapping till next time.